Hello, how are you doing? Oh, can you not hear me? Ah, right. Okay.
Test? Yeah, now there is sound. Okay. Anyway, once again, hi everyone. It's iBookBinding's live stream, and our guest today is Tom McEwan, a Scottish bookbinder and bookbinding teacher. And Tom recently got a new studio. Well, it was recently when we first started to talk about this live stream, but now it's a few months have passed already. So that was the plan for today's live stream, to talk about this new studio, about moving studios, about organizing a studio, maybe about bookbinding as
Mm,
well. We'll see how it goes.
okay.
Yeah. So my co-host, as usual, is Pavel Voronin. He joins us from
Hi.
Serbia. I'm in England. Tom is in Scotland, so pretty international today. Unlike some of our other streams, when there are lots of English people or English residing people sitting in the video. So, how are you, Tom?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well. Keeping busy. We're just talking about the weather. The big downer here at the moment is the weather. It's just been the most awful summer I've had here.
It was a
you
bit
know,
hot for a couple of days. I don't know how it was in Scotland, but here in England
yeah,
it wasn't
no,
pleasant.
we didn't get that.
Okay,
We didn't get the hot weather.
you're
If
lucky.
if, if you're a golfer, if you're interested in golf and you watch the Open Championship, it's from Troon.
Yeah.
And that's only a 20-minute drive from here. So if you watch that, you'll get an idea of what the weather's like. It's just appalling.
Okay. Well,
It's high winds, rain, cold.
good.
Kind of not unusual actually for our summer, but it's a bit of a shock because it comes in the back of 2 or 3 really nice summers that we've had.
Well, still something that we prefer. My wife and I prefer for our summer vacations, when it's not too hot, there is not too much sun there. We usually go to places like Scotland or Norway. We considered Finland for this summer, but then decided to
Right.
go to Austria, which is also probably,
Oh,
well, mountains, and it shouldn't be too hot there. So,
no.
how was it for you, the move? Why did you decide to move? Can you share the reasoning for that? How did it all happen? And
Yeah.
when did it all happen?
And have you
Well,
only moved your bindery, or have you also moved to another city? How far are you from where we last talked to you?
the last now, when did we last talk? So the last time we did one of these, I was maybe about 20 meters away
Okay.
because I was in the studio next door. So I've moved from one building to the building immediately next door. And maybe I should give you a wee bit of a background to
Yeah.
what the situation is here in West Kilbride. Yeah, so the West Kilbride has this designation of being Scotland's craft town. So I think it was about 25 years ago, a group of local residents got together and decided that they would try and revitalise the town by taking over vacant shop premises and turning them into studios. And they got this designation then of being Scotland's craft town. So I'm not sure how many studios are actually in the town, but there must be 7 or 8 or thereabouts, I would think. So there's a very well-known silversmith just up the road. In my old studio, which is next door, there's now a painter in there. And then going down the road, there's there's someone working with glass, there's someone working with fabrics and textiles. There's a sculptor down the road as well, and there are other similar sort of activities going on in West Kilbride, and there's a kind of, I suppose it's a kind of head office, but it's really it's one of the it's a church that was taken over and it's been converted. So there's an art gallery in there, and there's a cafe, and there's a craft shop, and there's the offices of where the people who run this setup are based in there as well. So I moved from Irvine to West Kilbride. It's only 15 minutes away 2 years ago. So I've been working in West Kilbride for 2 years, just over 2 years.
I think sorry to interrupt you, but I think the first time we recorded a video with you, the first video about book bindings we made with you was something like 3 years ago. So it was your previous workshop in a different town. But then it was last December or something like that. Again about booker binding, but for a different year this time, and and now it's the third workshop you are streaming with us from.
Yeah. This is the third workshop I've been in the last 2 years. But I'm hoping I have a longer stay in this one. The workshop I was in previously was very good. It was, it was a beautiful little workshop and situated in a street corner. It was very attractive, but it wasn't very big. It was big enough for me to work in and for me to teach in if I was doing one-to-one. But if I wanted to do group classes, then I had to generally rent somewhere else to run those because the studio wasn't big enough for that. But then it must have been early, just at the start of this year, I think. I can't actually remember now. That I heard that this studio that I'm now in was going to become available. So, I put an application in for it, and thankfully I was successful. So it's a lot bigger. It's more than twice the size of the previous studio that I was in. And it's a bit brighter. The light's better in here as well. There's more natural light.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well when I saw your first photos and the video, that it's much brighter there, and that's very important for any craft studio, but for bookbinding maybe even more.
And especially for an artist like you who works with color and gradations and everything, and once you switch the artificial light, no matter how good it is, everything changes.
No, that's very true. That's very true. Although artificial light is getting a bit better, they have you can get these new. I forget what they're not fluorescent lights. I'm not sure how they work, but they're balanced to be natural color. So they're balanced to, to sunlight, and they're actually quite good. Because most fluorescent lights are a bit yellow. There's a yellow cast from them. But I think they're actually LEDs, the modern ones. I think they're LEDs. But they're in strips. They're in strips, and they emit this natural light. It's balanced to sunlight.
I don't know. To me, it still looks a bit, clinical, like you're in a hospital. There's something still artificial to it, but it is getting better. Yeah, you're right.
It's better than it used to be. But nothing's going to replace a good natural light. That's the thing. I mean, ideally, you really want a north-facing light as well because it's more diffuse, and so you don't get harsh shadows. But I'm sort of slightly facing south-west, I would think. But it's great. It's a huge improvement to what I had before, and a massive improvement to what I had when I was down in Irvine. The light, the natural light in the studio I had in Irvine was abysmal. I had to rely on fluorescence down there. So much better.
Good. I wanted to use this opportunity to remind our viewers that we're always happy to see their comments, their questions under the videos, and if they would like to share from where they are joining us, it's also always a lot of fun and makes us very happy, and it's great just to know the geography of our viewers. So please post some comments. Today is a bit slow. There are people watching the stream for sure, but usually it's right from the start. Somebody starts writing like, "Hi, I'm such and such from this place and that place." Victoria Mansfield wrote, "Hi guys. 7 a.m. here, blinking sleep out of my eyes, and the first sip of coffee." So yeah, it's a bit early for the U.S., especially for the West Coast. For the East Coast, it's like 7 a.m. I guess, but yeah. But what could we do? We had to stream today at noon, at least by the. It's not Greenwich time anymore. It's universal whatever, and then summer's platform.
Summertime.
Okay, London time, Windsor time, Edinburgh time. So yeah, but I guess that even moving like 20 meters, as you said, from one studio to another, is still a chore. It's not easy to pack everything, to to decide how to organize everything. New space means new geometry, a new everything. So
Yeah.
how did you survive that?
Well, if you've ever, had to move heavy pieces of bookbinding equipment, you'll know what it can be like. Even moving a medium-sized nipping press can be a job on its own. But it was only maybe a 20-meter move. But the only advantage that gave me was that I didn't need to hire a van.
Yeah.
It was just a case of getting everything outside, putting it onto a trolley, and then carefully moving it down the pavement and then into the door here. But there was still some difficult moments. And I've got we'll maybe see it later on, but I've got quite a large board chopper, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's like
because it was too big.
It weighs a ton or something like that.
Yeah. It was too big to get in the door
itself,
so I had to dismantle it. I had to break it down into individual pieces,
okay,
and then bring it in and reassemble it. Do
you feel confident enough to assemble them on your own? Because I know some bookbinders who would never disassemble and assemble their board choppers because there are so many parts that can be, shifted just a little bit, and then you need a professional to sort of tune it.
Yeah, I'm reasonably happy doing that kind of work, but I've got an engineering background.
Yeah.
So that helps a bit.
Yeah.
And when I got that board chopper, I had to do a lot of work to it anyway, because although it was sold and in working condition was the description, when it arrived, it was far from being in working condition. So I already knew how it was dismantled, and obviously I still couldn't move it on my own. I had to get help because some of the pieces on it are remarkably heavy. They're just huge lumps of cast iron.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. It's the physical work that's beginning to be a challenge for me. As the years go by, my ability to lift really heavy weights for some reason is decreasing.
That's surprising. It should be the other way around, obviously.
Well, just a pity, isn't it? Yeah. But then there's even moving cloth. I had a surprising amount of book cloth, and even moving it just 20 meters or so, and I moved all that on my own. At least those kind of weights I can manage. But that was a bit of a chore. And then you get it in, and then you think, where do I put it now that it's in? Where is there going to be a convenient place to store it? And I still haven't sort of solved that issue. So it's kind of dotted about at the moment.
I hope you'll show us your current storage solutions when you take us for a tour workshop, because it's always interesting to see other people's ideas how they store stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I did before I even moved in, I put a lot of shelves up. I must have put about, what's that, 520? I mean, it must be about 50 meters of shelving. It must be that. It must be that amount. And that makes things a lot easier, because when you bring things in, you can then immediately store it, even if it's just a temporary measure.
Yeah.
But at least it keeps it off the ground and you're not tripping over things. So a wee bit of planning. If anyone's ever having to do this, you need to sit down and plan it to some degree.
Yeah.
And I even drew up a floor plan to scale, and then I made wee scale templates of what the footprint of the board chopper was, and the guillotine, the backing press, so that I knew where they would fit reasonably well. And the planchets as well, of course. I've got two big planchets here, so I had to find the right location for them straight away, because they're not easy to move once they're filled with paper and stuff.
Yeah. I don't remember. I think I told this story to somebody on our live stream. I don't remember who it was, but I got an old plant chest, an old steel plant chest while we lived in the Netherlands, and it was a whole story how I brought it home, because it didn't fit in the first car I rented. I had to switch the car. And then I brought it home, and we lived on the. So I always forget how it is in different countries. But so there was ground floor, there was first floor, and there was second floor, where our stairway to our real floor went from. So I had to bring this huge thing at least 2 floors up. And I was alone, and I don't know how I didn't kill myself during this, experiment, because it was really scary at a couple of moments. And I never used it. We lived in the Netherlands for 2 more years. I never used it. We moved to France. We took it with us. It stayed in the basement for all the time. Luckily, it fit really well, between the walls of the basement. And finally, when we moved to England, I sort of built my workshop around it because there is no other way to use it. I even had to cut. I put my workbenches on top of it, so I had to cut their legs a bit to fit everything. But now it's perfect. I like how it is. But I
use the planchets as my table surfaces. So, I've got 2, we'll see them later, but I've got 2 there. So that's where I do all my work.
Yeah.
And they're very useful for that, because they're at the right height. So you're not hunching over them and, potentially giving yourself back problems of some sort. That's another thing that you've got to be very careful of, I think, when you're setting up a workshop, that everything is at the right height for you. So that you're not straining your back or your legs when you're working away. And certainly for me, I've found that the height of planchets is ideal. If I was taller, I would maybe have to prop them up a wee bit, and if I was smaller, I'd maybe have to wear platform shoes. But it's quite an important consideration when you're setting up a workshop.
But you said that perhaps the main reason for you to move was to incorporate more workspace for your pupils. How many people can you now fit teaching at the same time?
I can quite easily get half a dozen in now, so I can get 6 in. I could probably I could actually get more in, but 6 I think is a good number. Once even 8, 9, or 10, the attention that you can give each individual is then diluted to a point where I don't feel I'm giving people the right experience. So 6, I think, is a good number to work with.
I always felt that somewhere between 3 and 6 students is a sweet spot, because when there are not enough students, you sort of don't get enough questions and feedback from them. And when there are more than 6 students, it's just it's not only the attention is diluting. It's just so taxing on yourself, and you spend so much energy on teaching them. So I tried teaching 14 people once, 14 adults. I had more students in my kids' classes, but usually there are parents there, so they help at least a little bit. But I taught 14 adults once without any support, without any other person helping me, without an assistant, and it was I was like, never again. I'm not doing that.
I mean, there are occasions where I'm maybe visiting colleges or whatever, and there's maybe a class of 20. But that's a different situation. It's a kind of one-off, and they're working on kits that are supplied. So that's different. And I'll never ever forget the one occasion when, due to a misunderstanding, 2 days before I was about to give a workshop in bookbinding, I was told that there was going to be 50 people there. I had to place an emergency order for extra needles because I didn't even have enough needles for them.
Yeah.
So that was a real that was a real challenge. But it went okay. You always find ways and means of doing things if you're faced with problems like that. But I'll never do that again. And my advice to everyone is don't try and teach to a classroom of people. Just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a couple of comments, both on Facebook and YouTube. I'll read them, and then we'll continue with other questions. But again, if any of our viewers have any questions to our guest, and maybe to Pavel and to me, that's also an option. Please post them, and we'll try to answer your question. Interestingly, we have lots of Canadians today in among our viewers. That's from time to time we have people from Canada commenting at least, but today it's like a lot. So Marie Trottier, Quebec City, Quebec. I will butcher the surname, but I'm sorry, Andrew. Andrew O. I'm not sure. Andrew is somebody we would like to have on our live stream, and hopefully we will have him on our live stream pretty soon. Hello from Toronto. So we will talk about bookbinding in Canada, I guess. Then Fatima Lorgat, hi from Ziyad in Leicester, England. Paulo Souza, Eva de Capanova, hi, I'm Paulo Souza from De Capanova, Brazil. I follow you on Instagram. Thank you for following us. And Andrew from Melbourne, Australia. Hello, everyone. So yeah, it's like all over the world today. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's why we decided to stream at noon London time. Thank you everyone for being with us. Again, if you have any questions, please post them, and we'll pass them to Tom. And let's continue, I guess. By the way, when I posted the announcement on Facebook, I got a message from Highland Bookbinding on Instagram. I was being taught by Tom McEwan this morning. It was a couple of days ago. The comment, or no, it's not a couple of 14 hours ago. So it was yesterday. That's a nice coincidence. So do you teach a lot?
Yes, I mean, half my week is spent teaching now. So, I tend to work 6 or 7 days a week. I have been for most of this year. So half of the week is teaching, and the other half is working on my own bindings.
Yeah. Do you feel this is a reasonable pace, working 6 or 7 days a week, or is it just, you have that much work and you don't have any excuse not to work? Because I can also feel it quite relevant to me. I've been working on switching to a 6-day week for a couple of years, and then I was working on switching to a 5-day week for a couple of more years, and I'm finally there. But how is it for you? What's your preference?
I'd probably like some time off. you know, 7 days a week, week after week, can get a wee bit too much. But you know, I enjoy it. I mean, that's the thing. It's if you're working for 7 days a week and you didn't enjoy it, that would be a nightmare. But I enjoy what I'm doing. So you know, it doesn't feel as if it's work. You know, it's just something that I want to do. Mm-hmm. So it's from that perspective, it's you know, it's quite manageable for me. But I do like to get holidays now and again. And maybe I could work a wee bit harder at managing time so that I can get maybe at least a day a week off. But at the moment, it's been pretty full on. I think there's still an element of the pandemic there, because once all the restrictions were lifted after the pandemic, there was just an avalanche of people wanting to come to bookbinding workshops or to do one-to-ones. And, you know, I kind of felt I had to respond to that. It's maybe beginning to ease off that a wee bit now. So maybe, you know, fingers crossed, that things might become a wee bit more manageable time-wise, you know, in the months ahead.
Could you tell our viewers a bit about what kind of courses you teach? Because on your website, I can see 4 workshops, fully booked, of course, all into September. But other than that, do you give like individual classes or something for beginners, or is it always advanced things like leather work, paper marbling? What is it you teach?
It's a very wide range. So I'll have beginners and I'll have, you know, highly experienced people here. So like Highland Bookbinding, who was here yesterday, he's been coming for maybe a day a week on average for the last year. So, you know, at the start, it was very basic stuff that we're doing, but he's now moved on to, you know, to quite, you know, he's now certainly moved on to leather work and, you know, making boxes and slip cases, all, you know, and a range of different materials. So he's come on quite well in the course of a year.
Yeah, I saw some photos on the Instagram, and it's a neat work, so neatly done. So I don't know what it was a year ago, but yeah, probably I should, you know, browse back sometime. But
it wasn't quite as good a year ago. But no, he's come on very well. But I mean, this week I had Roger Gretsch here for 2 days. You know, Roger's been, I think you did a thing with Roger. And so he was here, I was teaching him things and he was teaching me things. So that was quite interesting.
That's fun. That should be great.
Yeah, no, it was very good. It was, you know, it was a very fruitful 2 days that we had. So one of the things I'm trying to do here is actually set up a letterpress facility as well as a bookbinding studio. So Roger gave me a lot of really useful advice and information about letterpress. I mean, I know the basics, but you know, it's something I'll need to sort of learn a wee bit more about before I have the letterpress studio fully set up. But over the years, I don't know if you've ever found this, but people think that bookbinders could use letterpress equipment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not really true, but when it's offered to me, I kind of take it. And, you know, thinking, well, maybe one day I'll be able to use, you know, do something with it. So over the years, I've gathered quite a collection of letterpress equipment. And it would make a lot of sense to bring it into use. But because the studio is a lot bigger than the other one that I was in, one of the other things that I've been able to do is people can actually hire bench space now.
Okay.
So, you know, they come in the morning and they know what they're going to be doing for the rest of the day. So their interaction with me is actually minimal. As long as I'm confident that they know how to use all the equipment, you know, safely, then I just like to get on with it.
So like a co-working space for bookbinders.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's quite cheap for them to do that. and it gives them access to a big board chopper and, you know, a backing press and the guillotine, you know, the range of finishing tools and things like that. The type of things that it might take an individual quite a long time to acquire themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so for a fairly modest amount of money, they've got access to that, you know, for a full day. And that's proved to be quite popular. You know, so I've got quite a few regulars coming in doing that now. And the great thing about that is I can do my own work when they're here. And that in turn is maybe even a wee benefit for them because they can see what I'm doing, and so they can.
That's an absolutely benefit for them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And aren't you distracted by their presence? Because lots of what you do demands absolute concentration, like paring leather, for example.
It's certainly different from working entirely on my own, but no, I can still get a significant amount of work done, and it varies from individual to individual. You know, some of them still need a wee bit of guidance here and there. You know, maybe setting up a blocking machine or something like that. They might need a wee bit of help with. But so far, it's worked out very well.
Definitely a change of pace. Usually, bookbinding is rather solitary existence.
Well, in the past years, but before, like until 80s, bookbinders worked in large groups, and it wasn't that solitary. So yeah, things are different and things are shifting all the time. That's one of my dreams, to have a sort of co-working not co-working, but offer spaces for bookbinders here in Windsor. Maybe when I move to my next workshop, because I have a lot of space, but all of my space is filled with stuff now, and working surfaces and whatever. I cannot really invite anyone to do any bookbinding over there, but hopefully in my next space. But as you mentioned, the safety is one of the concerns, because just letting people from the street coming to your bookbinding studio, allowing them to use board choppers, it may get wrong really fast. So I'm not sure how to, tackle that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I give an induction in anything that I think requires it, and the board chopper is definitely requires a wee bit of introduction to. So, and I keep an eye on people, even for maybe a week or so afterwards, just to ensure that I'm confident that they can use it safely.
Yeah.
The board chopper is the most dangerous thing, I would think, that's in here.
Well, board choppers and the guillotines and whatever, anything that can cut thick piles of material can cut through your fingers easily.
Yeah, guillotines are certainly the guillotine I've got. It's got a lot of safety interlocks on it, so you to injure yourself, you would really need to be determined to injure yourself on it. To do it accidentally would I mean, I just don't think it would happen.
Yeah.
The guards have to be done before it works, and there's other safety mechanisms on it. I still treat it with some respect, the power guillotine, but
I think it was last year I went to, there was a message on the, I think it was Society of Bookbinders message list that one of the colleges, I don't remember, one of the London colleges, they were giving away some of the sewing frames from their bookbinding class because they were downsizing or whatever. And I asked if I can get one of them. It was a huge, long sewing frame, and I have smaller ones, and I thought, well, maybe in the future I'll find some use for it. So I went there and we chatted really nicely. It was interesting. They told me that they were downsizing for years already, and they had already half of the space they used to have before. And then I noticed that on the board choppers there are notices that students are not allowed to use them, and and they explained it was a safety measure because, well, it's a dangerous piece of machinery, but then it sort of supposedly it should be part of an educational process to learn to work with this machinery, but well, seemingly not anymore. But yeah, well, every institution have their own approaches to that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the college's focus was design or something like that. So I guess it wasn't about crafts per se or manual labor or whatever. So maybe it may be safer this way. Are you ready to take us for? Okay, my lights switched off. Are you ready to take us for a short tour around your studio, and maybe we will have more questions then and more things to discuss?
Yep. I'll try and I'll see if I can switch to the. Oh, there we go. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
The light is great. Yes.
Right. Here we go. Do you want to see outside?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
We want to see everything.
What a nice town.
Yeah, it's quite a nice wee place. So there's the window.
And even the display in the window. So
Yeah, the windows are kind of storage space at the moment. So here's the board chopper that we were discussing there, and you see it's quite a big one. The one I had before this was a lovely kind of sort of Victorian board chopper, but it was a bit small.
yeah.
So I'd always been on the lookout for a larger one. And I'm not actually sure what length the blade is, but the beauty of this is that I can put a sheet of board in there lengthwise, so I can cut on the long axis of the board.
Yeah.
Which is good for, if you've got a lot of board to cut, it means that you're getting very economical cuts off it that way. So it's, I dismantled this completely when I got it, right down to nuts and bolts, and I put a very accurate scale on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in here, but
yeah,
you see this. The scale goes right down to, so I can actually get 1/4 millimeter accuracy if I'm careful. And it's all set as very accurate, very square, and very repeatable. So it's a joy to use this thing. I'd be absolutely lost without it now. And it's got the side gauge here as well, which is always a handy thing.
Yeah.
If you need to cut all smaller pieces of material. There's no maker's name on it.
Yeah, that's surprising.
It was, you can just see 2 holes on there where the original maker's plate, I think, would have been.
Okay.
But it's missing now, so I've no idea who made it. But it's a very well made piece of equipment. And
but it looks like it may be anything before 1970s. Because this style didn't change really much. Then.
No, but it's not a Victorian. It's not Victorian.
Yeah.
I think it might have been made in the 50s or 60s. Looking at it, I guess. But, you know, who knows? As you say, the basic pattern hasn't changed in, you know, over 150 years or more.
That's true.
I'd be lost without this now. I'd hate to have to go back to using a smaller one. It makes me more productive having, you know, an accurate, reliable board chopper.
Yeah. And we'll already see one of your storage solutions besides the window display, also in the corner as well.
Yeah,
and under the board chopper.
For storing cloths. Yeah. And you'll notice too that the board chopper is right next to the door, because I didn't want to move it any further once I got it in.
That's smart.
It won't be moving. It won't be moving again anytime soon.
Yeah.
So next to that, we've got the two blocking presses here.
Yeah.
The one on the right.
I see pregnant. Is it
yes.
Schmetz pregnant or okay.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, this one here probably is Victorian.
Yeah.
It's a Mackay. And I've actually had this. I had this press before I was even a bookbinder, because I used to use it to proof embossing plates when I was a die sinker.
Mm.
But it's now been pressed back into bookbinding service, and it's a lovely machine. I don't know if you've seen one of these, but they're fantastic machines. You can get, it's quite a big platen size that they have, and you can get quite big cases in there. For instance, if you're working on blocking titles and cases, they take a wee bit of setting up sometimes, but they're beautiful presses, these Mackays. And then the pregnant is here. You've probably seen these before.
Yeah. Schmet,
so
they have a small exhibition at their office in Hamburg, and they have some of the older machines there as well, like the first generation pregnant or something like that. It's always interesting to see how the machines change over the years. There is not much change there. Still there is some change.
Yeah, they're beautifully engineered. These presses, they really are. I've got the standard type holder there for it. I don't know, is it 4 inches or something? Yeah, and I've got the bigger one. You know, there's a bigger one that they do.
Yeah.
And this came from St Andrews University Bindery originally. That's where it was originally located. And again, you know, it's another piece of equipment I'd really be lost without, because I don't do a lot of titling, but when I do, it's great having this because they're so quick and convenient to use.
Yeah.
I suppose if there's a downside, you need to have quite a lot of brass type to use them properly.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask about after that, because I saw on the shelves there is a lot of type there on your shelves about the blocking machines.
Yeah. So this type here is all lead. So that's all, you know, letterpress type that's in there. And then next to that, I've got some boxes of handle letters.
Oh, okay.
And I very, very seldom use them. In fact, I would say now the only time I use these handle letters is when I'm showing other people how they're used. I don't use them in my own work.
Well, still, it's a good use.
And then,
spreading the knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. And then these two cases are all brass. So it's all brass type that's in these.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a reasonable range of brass type now. It takes a long time to gather up, a good working selection.
Is brass type more difficult to find?
It's more the cost.
Mm.
I mean, it must be about 10 times the price of an equivalent lead type set. I mean, it must be in that kind of order.
Yeah.
And why do you need brass in particular? Can it be anything else, or does it have to be brass?
Well, on the Pragnant here, you can use lead type, but you need to be very, very, very careful because the pressure that you're applying can actually crush it. And if you use lead type in a type holder and you put it on a finishing stove, it's happened to me before, you can actually melt the lead type.
Whoa.
You turn around and there's just a wee silver pool of metal in the middle of the finishing stove. So it needs to be brass for its durability.
Yeah. And
So,
as
so
for the
both-
price and the availability, it's not a problem to order new brass type, but it will cost you dearly. And searching for vintage, for antique brass type, it's a whole process. You have to spend a lot of time on it, and among antique and vintage items, definitely there is much more offer of lead type and much less brass type.
Yeah.
And so the price isn't even the first concern then, if you're looking for vintage type. But yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, I mean, all the type I have has been acquired secondhand. So some of it's quite old, I think. Some of it's probably been cut fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
do you have a go-to font?
Sorry?
Do you have a go-to type? Which is your favorite?
Yeah. This one here I use a lot.
Yeah.
I've no idea what it is, what the actual face is, but I use it quite a lot. And of course, that's another thing when you buy used type, it can be difficult to identify what face it actually is.
Yeah.
We interviewed Karina from Ghent.
Armina Gazarian.
Yeah. She cataloged typefaces, and it wasn't easy at all to identify them. Yeah.
No, I can imagine. But if you're just titling labels, you pick the one that you think that's appropriate. But it would certainly be nice to know what some of these faces are. And some of them did come with labels. I think I know what some of them are. But by no means all. Anyway, there's the selection of foil I've got there. So, and I've got three finishing stones.
That's something we ask people from time to time, and I'm not sure if we have asked that of you already. But what's your preference, foils or real gold, or what I'm forgetting? What's the white metal that is used in leaves as well along gold? I'm blanking. But whatever. What's your first preference? Is it foil or is it leaf gold or something like that? Because there are some bookbinders who would say that you can only use leaf gold for tooling, and that's the only way to do things. And then there are others who are like, you do whatever works for you.
Yeah, I think I'm in that camp. I think whatever works for you is okay. But if I'm working on a fine binding and I'm going to be using a gold metallic foil or leaf, I would ensure that it is real gold. So you get rolls of foil which are actually real gold. It's very expensive. So on a fine binding, I would always use real gold, whether it was foil or leaf, and I use both. And also, increasingly, I'm finding that I'm using these pigment foils quite a bit. So these ones here, it's just a pigment that's transferred across. Well, some of these are metallic, as you can see, but There's some interesting coloured pigment ones there. And this is quite interesting stuff because it's transparent.
Okay. So it's
But
like
what it
And
does is,
it's like for
what would be the
lamination or
point
something.
of that?
yeah, what it does, so whatever you're blocking has a gloss finish to it. So it's like a varnish. It's almost like a varnish that you're blocking. And I use that quite a bit as well.
And what are those peculiar things atop of the foils on the top? I've never seen those things. No. Even further up.
The stoves?
Uh,
Yeah, the
what are
stoves.
those?
These are the stoves. So you put your finishing tools on there, and it's just a heated plate. So this part here is heated. So you heat up your finishing tools, and you can then use them to transfer gold leaf or foil for that matter.
And I can see they're a bit different. Like the one on the right is for smaller tools than the one on the left, or is it just decorative, the outer rim?
These notches are for, hang on, and I'll demonstrate it for you. I'll get some much easier to demonstrate than.
Pasha, many of them are old, and it's really hard to find a set of 3 that are completely similar.
They're all so there's a finishing tool there.
Mm-hmm.
So to heat that up, it would go on there like that.
Oh, I see. Now I see, yeah.
And these notches are just to stop it rolling.
Today I learned that. Thanks.
So here's the power guillotine here.
Sorry, I'll Marie Trottier asking gold leaf a question mark, but I'm not sure what the question means. Maybe something didn't go through. Marie, could you please ask add a bit more details to your question? And also there was a comment from Victoria Mansfield. Studio Passes is a great idea. I only have a small book press as a novice working out of my house. This is a great idea. I'll have to see if someone locally does it. More closer to Tom. LOL. Yeah, that's really a great idea. When I was starting as a bookbinder back in Moscow, there were no opportunities to find any equipment. Well, there were no opportunities to find any equipment like. That's it, full stop. But of course there were some binderies, but they were closed for outsiders, and I had to make some wooden equipment myself, and I'm lucky that I know a little bit about woodworking, so I was able to build myself a sewing frame, some presses and stuff, but not anyone is able to do the same, so that's an issue. And when there is a studio nearby that allows you to come over and use their equipment, that's a great boost to to your abilities and to learning possibilities. So yeah.
I completely agree. Absolutely. So that's the power guillotine. And it takes up to SRA 2. I don't use it a lot, but it's a useful thing to have.
Yeah.
And then next to some of this.
This one definitely has a lot of safety measures in it, but some of the older ones, like the 100-year-old ones, they have nothing. It's insane how people use them, and obviously there were some damages done. So we got some additional information from Marie Trottier, and so she's been asking about using gold leaf, I guess, for tooling using glare. So do you follow the traditional way as well with glare, and do you mix it yourself, by the way, or do you use some prepared, like, I don't know, I think Talos sells, well, obviously some British bookbinding shops also sell Claire, but I haven't checked. What's your way?
Yeah, I use both. I mean, I like to mix things up at the best of times. So I'll use both. I'll use foil and glare.
Yeah.
Sorry, leaf and
Leaf and
glare,
glare. Yeah.
or just or foil. And the both, you know, the finishes that you get from them they're subtly different, but different enough that you know you can use that difference to your advantage.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if you're beginning, then using foil is much easier. You know, the skills required are a bit less to use foil. Using gold leaf and glare, you know, you need quite a bit of experience and practice to get the best out of that. And I'm going to say here that I would never say that I was a gold finisher. You know, I know how to use these techniques, but you know, I would never say I was a gold finisher.
Yeah,
I would struggle to do, you know, a decorative spine in a book, you know, in the traditional Victorian way. You know, I might make a reasonable attempt at it, but it wouldn't be a patch to any, you know, people like Stuart Brockman. You know, they're you know, he is an expert in that area.
Yeah. Marie Trottier added fixer. Yeah, so fixer
is another one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I tried once to I attended a 3-day class on gold tooling, and that was an amazing experience. And I understood that I would never, you know, I may try practicing it from time to time, but I would never even try to become a person who is proficient in gold tooling, because it's just too much work and too much. You need to practice it constantly. I don't know, like with playing piano, you have to just practice and practice and practice to do it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, next.
But here's some of the letterpress stuff that I've got. And you know, you're talking about health and safety earlier on. This thing is a real health and safety concern, because there's no guarding on it at all. I'll spin it into action there.
Yeah.
But you know, if you imagine taking a sheet of paper out and then putting another sheet of paper in while that's in motion, you know, it's. I mean, I know it's done, and you know, in Victorian times, as I understand it, they used to get young boys to operate these machines.
Yeah.
But I've got kind of serious concerns about this. It's a beautiful machine, but I don't know if I would let students use it.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those Victorian boys had all of their fingers.
Absolutely.
That work, yeah. That looks very scary, but very beautiful, very attractive process.
Yeah. No, the engineering of them and the design of these things is wonderful, but the health and safety implications are quite significant. This wee one down next to it is safer because it works. It's a bit like the Adana, so it just works by doing that. So you need to open it and then take the print out and put a fresh sheet in before you can make another print. So it's a lot safer. And I wouldn't have any difficulties allowing students to use it.
Yeah.
At the moment, none of these machines have got rollers, so they're not actually in use.
Yeah. So what did you do with Roger during your 2 days?
Sorry?
What did you do with Roger during these 2 days? You mentioned that he showed you something about printing or whatever.
Yeah. So Roger set this up for me. This is an Adana.
Yeah.
So it had never been used. Not, in fact, none of this stuff's actually been used in here. But Roger, he set up the platen and the plate to be parallel to each other when it's making an impact. So he showed me how that was done. You know, there's a lot of adjustment screws at the back here that you've got to use for that. And we actually got some prints of it, and they were really nice.
I have a couple of Adanas at my workshop, and they were sold like you mentioned before in working condition, but they obviously need a lot of maintenance before they can print, before I can print anything on them. And maybe I will have time later this year, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see how it goes.
They've got a similar mechanism. It's just so they're quite safe.
Yeah.
It's hand operated, and this one here is an Adana as well, which is a kind of toggle action thing. But it needs a good clean. So I've got quite a bit of work to do to that before I get it into working order.
I never seen this one before.
Well, it's quite a big. The print area is a lot bigger. I have no idea what the results will be from it, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it can produce actually, because it's quite an interesting design.
Yeah.
So all the pressure is coming off this point here. You know, that's where the pressure for compression is generated. And then at the back here, I've got an etching press.
Oh, okay. Even more stuff.
Which was, it used to be a mangle, for drying clothes. But I've re-engineered it and put steel over the wooden rollers, and it works superbly as an etching press.
Wow.
But when it's set up, that board at the back there is actually the bed. When it's all set up, it's a lot bigger and it takes up quite a bit of room.
Yeah.
But the good thing is it can be dismantled and stored away quite easily.
Do you put it on your plant chest, or what's your setup with this etching press?
Well, you could just put it on a table.
Yeah.
Any strong table would do. And then at the moment, this is my leather store here. So it's not a permanent storage. It's temporary at the moment. But these leathers at the top here are all the coloured ones that I've got. I don't actually have that many coloured leathers. The bulk of them, which are these ones here, are natural. So they're undyed.
Yeah.
Because I do so much dyeing work, I like to keep a reasonable stock of undyed leathers.
Yeah.
They're mostly...
I think we discussed at least some of your leather dyeing and sort of coloring processes during one of our previous talks. So if our viewers are interested, I'd recommend them to search for Tom McEwan on our YouTube channel and watch our previous talks, because they were quite insightful on so many levels. But yeah, sorry for the interruption, Tom.
That's okay. Yeah. Leather is another material that is, it's quite expensive. We're talking about brass type earlier on being expensive, and therefore it can be prohibitive cost-wise, to build up a reasonable collection of. And of course, leather's the same. To build up a reasonable stock of leather is not. It requires a fair bit of expenditure.
Yeah.
What we've got over here, there's a big type cabinet here, which at the moment is empty, and I'm in the process of organising all this furniture at the top. Well, these are interesting, these boxes here. These are these are cast blanks to make finishing tools.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think you can get these now.
I
So there won't be-
yeah, I have never seen them for sale or
No.
or anything.
No.
That's interesting.
No. So we've got a few boxes of these.
Do you plan to do anything with them?
Yeah, I've already used them to make tools.
Okay.
See that one there you could use to, for making a gouge or something like that.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Quite unusual.
Interesting, because it's obviously cast metal, but do people nowadays make them in the same way? So do they cast the blanks and then, or do they use blocks of I don't know, brass and just cut them with CNC or whatever? We need
I think now
we need to invite
I think
some
the
toolmaker.
fabric. Yeah. So I think you would cut component pieces and then hard solder them together rather than have them cast.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed about these particular ones is that the quality of the brass is very good. It's very easy to engrave.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you buy just any stock brass today, it tends to be a bit tougher and therefore a wee bit more difficult to engrave.
Okay. Interesting. We have another question. I'll read it out loud. Nicola Londe. Hi, I'm from Ottawa. This is also fascinating, new to bookbinding. It would be so neat to see these tools in use in a part 2 video, maybe. That's, by the way, something I've been thinking about for quite some time, to maybe invite some of the bookbinders to show some stuff during the live stream or something. But I don't even know how to organize that because it's sort of an online class. But yeah, I'll have to discuss it probably with some bookbinders and some other people as well, and maybe we'll find some solution for that. So yeah, sorry again, Tom. please show us more.
That would be a good idea, to run a wee online study session on gold finishing.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
okay.
That's very good.
Let's talk.
Don't ask me to do it though.
Let's talk with you maybe about something else, maybe some other processes. Maybe you'd be interested to do something like that for some other bookbinding processes.
Yep.
Good. So, Anika, thank you for the prompt.
This area here eventually is all going to be for letterpress printing.
Okay.
That's the grand plan, and then up the steps here is where the bindery is. So I've got all the usual stuff here, the finishing presses, lots of hand tools, pressing boards. So here are the finishing tools up here.
Yeah.
And I need to get these all properly organised and put in racks. This is not a good way to store them.
Yeah, that's true.
And then above there, I've got some finishing presses. And then this is something that I use quite a bit. Is it a vertical? I can never remember whether it's a vertical plough or a horizontal.
Yeah, that's a good question. I never remembered as well. But I love this tool.
Let's just call it a plough.
Yeah.
These are great things. They're wonderful. They give you such a clean edge. Using a power guillotine, you often end up with wee ridges on the cut from where nicks have formed on the blade.
Yeah.
Whereas when you use this, it's such a beautiful edge that you get. And because I do quite a lot of edge decoration, it's a big advantage to start with a beautiful flat edge. And that's what I get from this.
Yeah. It cuts really beautifully and really nicely and really square. So everything is just
Yes.
perfect with this plow. Yeah,
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
they call it vertical plow.
It's vertical.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
well, the blade is vertical, so I suppose that's where
yeah.
the definition is.
I always when we got mentioned it when it get it mentioned by our guest or something, I always tell everybody that if you find this plow, just buy it because it's one of the best tools you can have for bookbinding.
Yeah.
The new one is insanely expensive if you are not a professional bookbinder who like earns money constantly with making books. It's like 600 euros or something like that. So it's an expensive tool. If you can find it used for a good price, anything below 300 euros or 300 pounds, I guess it's a good price for it. I got this one for 100. So
Very good.
yeah.
Yeah, they are expensive, but you're right. If you get a chance to get one, you should take it. I know that a couple of the students that I have coming here, 2 of them have been quite lucky over the last year, and they've bought them on eBay for £200 or £300, I think.
Yeah.
So there's lots of books in here, of course. You know, I've got a lot of on here. It's mostly samples. You know, so there's like all sorts of different. So they're kind of just instruction samples, really. That's what most of these are.
So these are for reference.
Yeah, mostly for reference. And then some of them are books on bookbinding. So I've got quite a lot of books on bookbinding. Most of them are up here, though. Let's go up and have a wee look. And of course, this is the other advantage, that students would come here just for the day. They've got access to these books as well. So you'll probably recognise quite a lot of the titles.
Yeah.
There.
I have
Quite-
I have some of them on the shelves behind me.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Nice. Oh, and magazine as well.
Yeah, these are the Designer Bookbinders and the Society of Bookbinders journals.
Yeah. Lots of nice stuff there. Yeah, it's. But by the way, again, I'm addressing our viewers. If you are not a member of your local bookbinding society, guild, or whatever, check out what do they have as their newsletter, because oftentimes the materials they publish are just amazing. So the designer bookbinders and society of bookbinders newsletters here in the UK are amazing. There is I'm still subscribed to the Society of Bookbinders in the Netherlands, Stichting Handboekbinding. They also have a newsletter. It's quarterly, I think. It's in Dutch, but still there is a lot of interesting material. Guild of Bookworkers in the US, they also have a newsletter where you can find a lot of interesting material, not only about bookbinding as a craft, but also about history of bookbinding and many other educational things. So yeah, please check these societies or guilds and support them.
Yeah, that's very sound advice. That it's one of the best ways to learn bookbinding now is to contact your local society.
Yeah.
You'll soon not just to learn bookbinding, but even to acquire bookbinding equipment. So let's see what's up here. So that's all scrap leather up in the top there. And then I've got these Brockman pairing machines.
So
Again, this will be familiar.
your preference is Brockman, not Sharfix.
Yeah, I prefer the Brockman. That's a Sharfix. That one there's a Sharfix.
Is it because it has a wider opening, or what's your reason to like Brockman more?
I just think it's a more reliable cut that I get from a Brockman.
Okay, interesting.
Now the Sharfix is easier to use in certain ways because you can open the blade up and then put your leather in.
Yeah.
You can't do that with the Brockman.
Oh, okay. I never used Brockman, so I don't know. So that's interesting.
Right.
Interesting details.
Right. But the Sharfix also, if you want an angled cut, you just turn that wee wheel there.
Yeah.
And it'll change the angle of the blade.
But it's
so
so tricky. It's so tricky with the angled cut with Sharfix. It's so easy to to rip apart your leather when you're doing the angled cut. At least in my experience. Maybe it's just not enough experience.
So certainly, I use the Brockman 9 times out of 10.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll use the Sharfix for certain things.
We have Tim from Vietnam in the comments. Nice to see you and hear you sharing knowledge, I guess. So nice to have you, Tim, as well. Victoria Mansfield. Oh yeah, that was about Dimitris Kotsopidis. But yeah, that's it for the comments as of now. Again, I invite everybody to, if you still have any questions, or if you have any questions, or if you get any questions before we end our live stream, please post them, and we'll try to answer them, or we will pass them to Tom to answer them. But our stream will soon be getting to its final minutes, so it may be the last opportunity for you to ask these questions. I invite everybody to check the links in the description, because there are links to Tom's website and Instagram account, so please follow that. And also there are some useful links to our social accounts. Please follow us if you are not following iBookBinding yet. And also please check the link to Patreon account, because, well, support of our patrons is crucial in making of these live streams and some other things we do here. But anyway, yeah, we can see the plant chest cabinets much better from this side.
Yeah. This here is a.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing I would hate to be without. So this is a backing press, and it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Do you prefer the metal ones or wooden ones? Because there are plenty of wooden backing presses as well. What's your preference?
Yeah, I much prefer this, actually.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to use. You only get one handle to turn.
Okay.
Whereas with the wooden ones, well, right enough, the wooden ones, I think, have some of them have a single handle as well.
Yeah, there are some. But that's true that many of them have two handles. Yeah.
But I like this. See, you can use this section here to do the rounding, and then just drop it in to do the backing.
Yeah.
And it was made in Edinburgh.
Oh, okay. So it's a local one.
It's a local one. It's a Greg.
Nice.
And there's very few. Very few of these about, from what I can gather.
There is a comment.
Steve-
There is sorry. I'm always interrupting everybody, but there is a comment from Martin Hogg. Hi, is it a Greg laying press in the middle of the floor? So the question came before you showed the maker's mark. So yeah,
Right.
somebody recognized it well.
Yeah. I know that I think Stephen Conway's got one of these,
Okay.
and there's a bookbinder in Australia who used to work in Scotland. Her name's Isabel McEwan, and she found one of these in Australia.
That's impressive. But then I get questions from bookbinders in Australia about tools all the time, and also I sometimes send quite heavy equipment to vintage tools like I don't know, presses or something like that to Australia, because as far as I understand, it's really hard to find any good equipment over there, and especially large equipment. So yeah, I can imagine why would an Australian person decide to bring their nipping press with them back from Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised that one had made its way halfway across the world. But there you go.
That's a problem, but yeah, what can you do?
These are the plant chests which I was telling you about, and they're pretty much just full of paper. There's some leather in here, so these are all leather offcuts.
Yeah, and
you
also
might recognize some.
Yeah, stuff from previous projects. Yeah, it's really nice to see this stuff.
There's quite a lot of it. It's kind of like having a colour palette. This. So if I sometimes I'll browse through this looking for a particular shade of a certain colour, or maybe even just a grain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old marble papers as well.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't really use these in my own work, but if I've got students in, they like to use it. And that's board.
Yeah.
So there. So they're very useful because they double up as a work surface and storage. And then this is work which I'm currently working on.
Okay.
That's dyed leather.
Is it? Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Is it leather or is it something else? But yeah,
No, it's leather. It's leather. I've got a project a bit. These are the two books that the leather's about to go on.
Mm. So almost there.
Almost there, yes, almost there. I'm hoping to have these finished within the next couple of weeks or so. So I think that's maybe about it.
Yeah. Great space. Yeah, and people in the comments are quite happy with you showing, and thankful for you to show this.
Good
space.
Good. No, I'm very happy.
I hope.
Very happy.
I hope it will inspire
if it helps
somebody.
Anyone else,
yeah, exactly. So one thing, one.
That's the office.
Yeah, sorry. Please continue.
I just kind of jokingly said that this is the office here.
Yeah. That's the office. That's true.
Great space. What a space. And how can people contact you if they want to use it as to get a studio pass and work with you there using your tools?
They can go to the website, and it can all be done from the website.
So yeah. Anyway, go to Tom's website. That's the first thing to do after you watch this video, this live stream. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask right from the beginning of our talk, when Pavel asked you about teaching students and mentioned that your schedule is fully booked and your classes are fully booked. How long in advance do you publish your schedule, and how long in advance should people, start trying to make to reserve a place in your class? How does it usually go?
Well, there's a newsletter that you can sign up to, and that is where you'll get first notice of any events that have been scheduled.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the way to go. Would you switch the camera back to you, back to
Yeah,
yourself?
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm wrestling with it.
Yeah. It happens. Martin Hawk, yes, thanks so much. iBookBinding, and thanks Tom for showing us around. I have a massive natural light envy right now. Yeah, that's true. My workshop sort of has this light. How you call not light windows, but windows in the roof, but they covered with some sort of semi-translucent plastic, which is not enough, to let all the light through. And yeah, I still have to use artificial lighting, but yeah, it's so much better than what I have before. But then I'm a bit envious of all these large windows you have in the walls. Yeah, thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I think I know what that stuff is. It's a kind of budget insulation, isn't it, to keep heat in?
Yeah, something like that. It's also corrugated, so it's I don't know.
Oh, is it? Ah, right.
It's some sort of specially, I don't know whatever. But yeah, anyway, it lets in some light, but definitely not enough. But I'm happy with my workshop, at least for now, and it's so much better than having a workshop in your third bedroom. So, especially when your neighbors start complaining that 3D printers are buzzing too loudly during the night. So, looks like there is. Oh yeah, there is one more question from Tim. I love to see your pantograph engraver. Is it here in your studio, Tom? Pantograph engraver?
No,
Yeah.
that's at home. So I've got an engineering workshop at home, where I used to make a lot of finishing tools using the pantograph, and I've got I've got lathes and milling machines and stuff like that. Maybe we could have a wee tour around it some other time.
That would be great. Yeah.
I'd need a wee bit of notice for that, because it's in a bit of a mess at the moment. But no, if you wanted to do that at some time, I'd be perfectly happy to do that.
Yeah, sure. That definitely would be interesting. I'm sure there will be enough people who would be interested in that as well among our viewers. So Marie Trottier wrote, merci beaucoup. Thank you, Marie, for joining us today. Dave Turnbull just got internet back, so I'll have to play catch up later. Well, that's the benefit of recorded live streams. You can watch them at any moment in the future, and I hope this talk will be helpful for at least some bookbinders. And it's, as I said before, it's always inspiring and interesting to see how different bookbinders, different artisans organize their working space, because you always get some new ideas on how to improve your own space if you have space. And it's also, well, it's interesting to see a sort of spacious workshop like you have, Tom. Sometimes it's even more interesting to see. No shade on your space. Yeah, not throwing any shade, but sometimes it's really interesting to see like the smallest workshops. Because people have to, invent all the new ways to fit everything together and make it work. But yeah, great to see, and I'm glad to hear that you have enough space for students now, and yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with the way this has turned out.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for being with us today. Thank you for the questions, and thank you for communicating with us. Please check the links to Tom's Instagram account and website. Please subscribe to us, like the video, all the standard stuff. We have a couple of live streams preliminarily scheduled for August, so we're not leaving for a break or whatever. There will be some streams in August. There will be no more streams in July, I guess, because it's only one Saturday left, and we weren't able to organize everything, and I'm not sure that we really wanted to. But yeah, at least 2 streams in August. Then we already have a stream scheduled with Ben Elbel for early September. He's going to announce some stuff as it happens with Ben Elbel every autumn, and we'll see how it goes from there. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pavel.
Thanks for asking me.
Thanks a lot.
And I hope we'll return to you for some more stuff in the foreseeable future. Maybe this year, maybe next year. We'll see how it goes. I hope to finally, drive to Scotland at some moment and visit your studio in person as well.
Yeah, that's the best way to see it.
Yeah, that would be great. So we'll stay here for like 30 more seconds while the video drops on both streams on Facebook and YouTube. But that's it for today. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. We'll post an announcement soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.